Welcome to Consulting Mastery, where we help B2B consultants master the business of consulting. I'm Carrie.
And I'm Ahmed. Join us as we explore the art of delivering outstanding client value, earning a higher income, and thriving in today's marketplace. Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I want to continue a conversation we've been having on the show around what are your clients really buying? And I'm going to use a metaphor that marketers have been using for centuries. That's not true. I don't know if they've been using it for centuries, but it's one that I've heard a few times and I think you're going to find helpful in helping you understand what your clients are really buying so you can get better at actually selling that to them. Before we get into it, if you are looking for our help in building pipeline, creating better marketing for your consultancy, growing your consultancy at large, and you want to have a conversation, go to 90daypipeline.com/talk, and we'll find out if we can help you. And if we can help you, we'll talk about what that looks like. And if we can't help you, we'll send you on your merry way with some resources and hopefully some good advice. So 90daypipeline.com/talk. Carrie, you probably heard me say this about 1 million times in the context of conversations with clients, but here's the story. I don't know who came up with it, so I'm not going to attribute it. I'm not going to pretend to know. And I probably will butcher it a few times over the course of telling this story. But here's the idea. Clients are not looking for a hammer. They're looking for a nail in the wall. Okay. And I'll take that a step further. That's what you commonly hear in marketing circles for centuries, apparently. Clients are not looking for a hammer. They're looking for a nail in the wall. And what marketers do with this statement is they'll tell people and they'll communicate that, well, don't sell the hammer. Sell the nail in the wall, i.e. sell the outcome, not the tool or the process or the solution. Sell the result. And actually, that's still not quite the result. Because I don't really want a nail in the wall. I want the painting. Okay, there's a nice painting behind me, right? Somebody put that nail in the wall and that was insufficient for me because I didn't want the nail, I wanted the painting. Okay, so now we're getting closer to the outcome. There's a painting, but is the painting what I'm really after? Is that really the goal? Painting. Well, take that a step further. And this is how we get to, ultimate benefits. It's not just results. When you think about it, results are not really what people buy. There's a benefit to the result. So the result in this case might be a painting on the wall, but what's the benefit? The benefit is, look how smart and sophisticated I look on podcasts with this fancy art behind me. Look at all the conclusions you're drawing. And if you're an audio listener, you can't see this, but there's a pretty nice piece of art behind me, right? Look at all the conclusions you're drawing about how sophisticated this guy is, the taste he has in art, how nice my office looks. By the way, this art is painted by a local artist in this town. So I'm also supporting local businesses, local artisans. I get all these benefits that started with a hammer. That's the tool. That's the solution. That resulted in a nail in the wall. That's part of the outcome. That resulted in the final outcome, which is a painting on the wall. That ultimately resulted in a set of feelings. And those feelings are actually what I bought. They're actually what I wanted. Does that make sense?
To me, it makes perfect sense. And I love this as a metaphor. And what is fascinating, I would say every time, maybe possible few exceptions that we have this conversation, is just how far people are from being able to define that final benefit feeling. Consultants come in, they have a ton of experience and expertise, and the reality is they are delivering the feeling out there in the world. That's the thing that they're providing to their clients. That's that is the outcome that is getting them the delight of their clients. But articulating it is an entirely different matter. And so often, quite frankly, they're still back at the hammer. And so let's talk about how you get from hammer to feeling.
Well, it reminds me of a conversation you and I had maybe a couple of years ago when we were pouring through, I think we were doing some customer interviews and we were looking at customer testimonials, and we were, when we were doing some product upgrades. And the question we were asking ourselves was, what are people really getting out of this exercise? And at that point, we'd put, a few hundred, I don't know, maybe 600 or 700 clients through the program. And we knew what they were getting out of it, but what was the language they were using? What were they saying? And I remember you called this out and you said, here's a word that keeps coming up: confidence. I'm building confidence. I have more confidence in my business. I have more confidence in my abilities. I have more confidence in my goals. I have more confidence in the direction. And we were like, well, where the hell's that in our marketing? We don't say confidence. That they're using that word as a result of interacting with the product. But we never use that word. And it was kind of a surprise. Like, how dare they use words that we don't use, right? Right. But it was obviously an eye-opening moment because we're like, oh, okay, so we have an idea for this product and obviously we deliver it. And then when they use it, one of the results and the feelings that they get from it is confidence. And that was obviously instructive to us, and it helped refine our marketing. And so I think the challenge, to answer your question, is we're all guilty of being too close to our product. We couldn't see that because what do we do every day? We enroll people in the product and we deliver the product, right? And we don't live in their world where they're on the customer side interacting with the product or solution and implementing it and then generating all these feelings and benefits. We're not in their world every day. So we have to step out of our world and get into their world to see things from their perspective. But you're right, it's comical because, if I go to LinkedIn and I review a bunch of LinkedIn profiles, which we do both in our enrollment sales process and in our program, the vast majority of consultants are basically saying on their LinkedIn profile, I am a hammer. Mm-hmm. I am this kind of hammer. I am that kind of hammer. I'm a brown hammer. I'm a red hammer. I'm a wood hammer. I don't even know what kind of hammers there are. So I'm going to butcher this conversation, right? I'm a metal. I don't know, right? But they're offering all this distinction. I'm like, well, I'm this kind of hammer, that kind of hammer. And ain't nobody want a hammer.
Well, and what's at the base of this? Like the thing I think to realize, and this has been really helpful for us as well, is to recognize that the way you see the problem and the way that your prospect and or client sees the problem are always going to be different. And not only are they always going to be different, but they're right. And yes, you may have the expertise to know how to solve the problem. You may understand the problem much more deeply. You are truly the person who gets it, right? That's why they're going to hire you in the end. But what you will never be as good at is understanding how they see the problem. And so starting from that place of recognizing that you don't know, right? That you can't you have to take off your arrogance hat and say, okay, I truly don't know. Go into it with a beginner's mind on a regular basis. That is truly the way that you're going to find out how people are actually talking about what it is that you do or what is it they need.
And the interesting thing is, maybe you should be talking about what kind of hammer you are, depending on what your client actually wants. Mm-hmm. So let's take this metaphor even further. If your client, in the case of the metaphor, is a handyman, a general contractor, well, that person's not looking for the nail on the wall or the painting or any of those things. They're looking for a tool. They're shopping for a tool. And they're a sophisticated buyer, right, who maybe knows the differences between different types of hammers and is looking for something very specific. By all means, differentiate your hammer. If I go to the hardware store and I'm a general contractor, I'm going to have an opinion about what kind of hammer I want because I've been using different hammers over the course of my career. And, the guy at the hardware store who's always disappointed when he meets me, because I can't have a meaningful conversation, right? I go in to buy a shop vac the other day, and you go, oh, are you a contractor? What do you need it for? I'm like, I just need to clean my barbecue, man. All right. I'm going to use this thing once every 6 months to clean out my smoker. I'm not a contractor. It's going to sit in my garage, basic household usage. And he just died a little bit inside. He's like, all right, just go get that one. It's like $50. Like, okay, great. Thank you. My point is, if I'm a contractor and I actually have an interest in hammers and I know what I need and want, I have an opinion on it, then maybe that's the thing you should be selling them.
Yeah, but the trick is you need to assess that, because you could have walked in and said, we're both out of our depth here at the hardware store.
Yeah.
But, you could have walked in and asked for something entirely different. And it's up to the expert at the hardware store in the same way as it's up to us all as experts to really dig in and understand what it is that you need.
Yeah.
Because he could have sold you the very expensive fancy shop vac. He also could have said to you, actually, you know what? In aisle 3, we have this thing called a barbecue cleaner. Much more, aligned with what you're looking for. Let's go over there. So there's a nuance here, because on one hand, what we're saying is you need to hear the client and you need to hear them say what it is that they need. Also, you need to make sure you dig deeply enough that what you hear is the real information.
And there's a strategic choice to be made from a positioning and targeting perspective.
Yes.
I think it's kind of comical that in pretty much every episode of this show, all roads invariably lead back to a conversation about positioning. That's not a coincidence. It's that important because you get to choose, as the business owner, you get to choose who you want to target. And part of that choice, there's a demographic angle to that conversation, right? I want to work with organizations in this industry of this size. I want to work with this buyer persona. Yeah, that's all really important. But there's also an angle of what level of prospect sophistication do I want to target? Okay. Because some people know more about hammers and are more concerned about the tools. And some people are not that sophisticated and are really just interested in getting that nail in the wall and getting the painting installed. And in every market, there's going to be different levels of sophistication. Some folks are going to be more interested in the tool set and how you deliver, and they'll get very technical with you. Think of them as technical buyers. And for them, you probably should be talking a little bit about the hammer you're using and the tool you're using, because they're going to want to know. Maybe because they have prior experience, different tools, etc. And then there are prospects who don't really care. They're not technical buyers, right? And their language is business outcomes and results. And as long as you can convey some authority and build some trust, they don't care what tool you use. So a big takeaway here is not just know who you're talking to, decide who you're talking to, decide who your target is. What is the level of sophistication of the client that you want to have, and then communicate accordingly.